Bill number 594 and 508. Representative Perkins, please proceed when ready. Check the microphone and see if that's working. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Chairman and the committee. As I've been told, we don't speak much here, so I'm just going to be very brief. But capital gains tax cut is elimination is the most cost-effective way to increase the economic growth in Missouri. 3 reasons: it encourages reinvestment, it encourages investment from out of state, and it also frees up locked-up capital, which people don't sell their property because they don't want to pay capital gains tax. So I think it's a very worthwhile approach to improve our economic growth compared to surrounding states, where we've got 5 of our surrounding states have lower capital gains tax rates, and one of them actually has a 0 rate. Thank you so much.
Thank you to both of the bill sponsors. Questions from the committee?
No questions.
Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Witnesses testify in support, House Bill numbers 594 and 508.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, my name is David Overfelt, and I'm a registered lobbyist for Associated Trustees.
Check your mic. Is the microphone on?
There we go.
Perfect.
All right, let me start over. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is David Overfelt, and I am a registered lobbyist for Associated Industries of Missouri, and we want to go on record for House Bill 594 and 508.
Thank you for that. Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Further witnesses testify in support. And if everyone, please make sure you fill out your witness cards and leave those at the desk for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brad Jones with the NFIB. I believe we supported your bill and these House bills, and so we're happy to do so again. And I need to run over to the House.
Thank you for that testimony.
Appreciate
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Further witnesses testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Sam Licklider from Missouri Realtors in support of the bill.
Thank you. Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none.
What positive...
Oh, seeing one.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, proceed.
I thought you said seeing one,
Oh.
so I thought I'll just interject. Tell me a little bit about how this will impact people's real estate and the sales of real
You
estate.
have investors that buy property, and it appreciates typically. There's apparently some property that doesn't, that I'm not aware of it. So they get capital gains. It saves them a little bit of money.
Awesome. Thank you. My uncle has a big dairy farm, multi-generational, and the city grew up around him. But the capital gains in that state would obliterate him if he were to sell it. So he's held on to it for 20-something years, even though he's bought another farm. So that's why I was asking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Further questions for this witness? Seeing none.
Sorry. I was anticipating.
Additional witnesses to testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Liz Henderson on behalf of the Missouri Soybean Association want to go on record in support of this bill.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today on behalf of the Missouri Cattlemen's Association. We'd just like to go on record in support of the bill. Be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you
Mr.
for
Chairman.
being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jared Hankinson with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce. I want to go on record in support of the bill. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Further questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses to testify in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses here testifying in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Colby. I'm with the Missouri Budget Project. We are a nonprofit organization that watches revenue and the impact. We have a concern about this bill in the calculation of the fiscal note. On the corporate side, we can kind of see the work where they've done, but on the individual side, we can't actually find the basis by which they started, and the calculation of that does not seem to compute. So we just want to go on record with heartburn about the fiscal note and the concern about the distribution of the tax break that skews way up high in the income scale. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in opposition? Seeing none. Any witnesses here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that will conclude the public hearing on House Bills number 594 and 508. We will next proceed to public hearing for House Bill number 737 and 486. Please proceed when ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for hearing House Bill 737. My name is Melissa Schmidt. I represent District 141, which is Wright County, portions of Laclede, Douglas, and Webster. House Bill 737 passed through committee on the House side unanimously. Senator Jamie Berger is carrying it here on the Senate side. It basically brings attention to the fact that pension dollars that should be reserved for foster care placements are being used by the state rather than saved for foster children. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for the House sponsor from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Any witnesses testifying in support? House Bill 737 and 486. Please proceed when ready.
Hi, Jason White. I live in Independence, Missouri. I'm a foster father. Brought some tissues. I'll be short because I know this issue's already been heard in another Senate committee, but shortening the story, my wife's a teacher. 8.5 years ago, she brought a kid home from school because life was a disaster, and 2 days turned into 2.5 years. During that time we had him, at that point in time, he's back in our life, the state was taking the death disability from the death benefit that he had earned from his mother's passing. So prior in his life, he was living with his mother. Mother has drug abuse issues. She took her own life. Hopefully the kid would have gone off with a grandmother, but instead father reappeared, took the kid. Life went to hell for the poor child. Lived in drug houses, was left alone in drug houses, lived in cars, just the hell that you wouldn't want any kid to have. During that, terrible things happened. Then he's taken, and we end up with him for 2.5 years. He has got serious mental health issues, social engagement issues. If he was sitting back here, you would have picked him out and you'd be worried in fear because of his demeanor. So teachers are fearful. He doesn't communicate. I've said more in these moments than we get out of him in a month. So he can't communicate. So he's had trouble in school. He's back with us. He's been kicked out of Job Corps. We got him back in. He's doing great. But after 2.5 years, he goes to live with a half-brother. We think that's a good idea. Half-brother is terrible, and we won't go down that line but they drop him from counseling. There's no more IEP at school. There's no more meds and all that mess. We don't figure it out. Pandemic. He comes back into our life when he's turning 18, and they're going to kick him out, and he has nowhere to go. So he's back in our family. The reason I tell that part of the story is the death benefit is the driver of the hell that was his life, and then the failure to help him after he left us, and then during the time the state had him, the state was taking the monies. Dad didn't love him. Dad didn't want him. That $600 a month was the driver that father wanted him back in his life. Didn't care about the kid. That driver for the half-brother was the $600 a month. So the death benefit is such a huge driver for these kids in the negative that we don't see in our normal course of life. But to provide a benefit for him, the state took $32,000 from him. When he came back to us at age 18, when he was going to become homeless, he had the proverbial black trash bag and nothing else, a negative $100 in his checkbook because his half-brother, who's back in prison, had stolen all of it. That $30,000 or whatever it would have been would have set him up so when he gets out of Job Corps in a few months, because they've done very well with him, he's back with us on weekends, he needs a car. He needs a down payment for an apartment. He needs just living arrangements. He'll end up with it because we'll take care of him. There's a lot of other kids that aren't going to get a goddamn thing because we took their money. So please, these kids are hidden from you, so please give them a shot. Thank you. I'm open to questions.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Yes, proceed.
Where did you drive in today from?
Independence.
I just want to thank you for coming and taking the time to come and testify today and to share your witness of what you've seen. It's people like you that really make a difference in policy and helping us understand the issues, so thank you.
Proceed.
I just want to echo Senator Carter's comments. In this building, often things are driven by who has the most, who has the biggest lobbyist corps and the most campaign contributions and that kind of thing. I just want to say thank you for being the voice for not only your son, but also the thousands of other kids that don't have an adult in their life like you and your wife. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses to testify in support?
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Madison Ekrit, and I am here on behalf of Foster Adopt Connect, which is a statewide nonprofit that provides wraparound services to help recruit, retain, and support foster and adoptive families in Missouri. And we're here in strong support of this bill. It is a really well done bill. We did a lot of research comparing what other states have done to address this issue, because unfortunately it's not unique to Missouri that this practice of screening for benefits and applying for them, but then the state using them to offset the cost of their standard care is unfortunately a nationwide problem that has been being addressed since about 2018. There's been over 15 states that have done something to act upon it, and Missouri would be wise to do the same. I know that there are some states that have done a more comprehensive job, such as Arizona, and this legislation is modeling some of those pieces upon what they have learned and done and have been really successful with. And including the really important point to notify foster kids and their families what they've been screened, what they've been applied for, what benefits they have, and where those benefits are going, which is not currently happening to the best of its ability. So I think that's a really important piece, and then these benefits would be conserved in a Mo-Able account, which is also an important aspect of this bill. If you have any questions, let me know.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. We will pause just briefly and establish a quorum before we continue with testimony. So, Madam Secretary, if you please call the roll.
Senators Trent, Gregory, Bernstetter, Carter, Coleman, McCreary, Weber.
All right, very good. Quorum has been established. We'll now continue with testimony. Those in support, any further testimony in support, please come forward and proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alex Eaton, representing the Center for Rights of Abused Children. We'd like to go on record in support of this bill. We worked with the sponsors last year and appreciate Representative Schmidt and Senator Berger bringing it forward. The previous witnesses did a great job, but happy to take any questions and appreciate you guys listening to this.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Further witnesses in support, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Nikki Strong here on behalf of Missouri Coalition for Children and Foster Adoptive Care Coalition. Want to go in on record in support of the bill. It's a great bill, and I think the previous witnesses did a great job explaining why. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that testimony. Any questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses to testify in support? Please proceed when ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate. I submitted my online testimony for the bills before the committee and would appreciate them being put into the record. On HB 737 and 486, I testified for this bill in the House about a month and a half ago. It's a great bill. It's great public policy of putting children first and foremost. Children shall not be used as a pawn and used for financial gain. And in my opinion, it's been used, children are being used for the financial gain or to line the pockets of certain individuals that really don't care about the child, but care about themselves and their livelihood. The financial aid, pension relief, and Social Security benefits shall follow the child's needs and expenses, and shouldn't really go for the legal parent's financial gain. For those reasons, I fully support HB 737 and 486. I also would add that if there could be an amendment added to this bill to allow for penalties of a parent who is exploiting or taking advantage of the financial situation for their personal gain instead of tending to the needs and expenses of the child, I think that those penalties shall be put in place with this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses here testify in opposition? House Bills number 737 and 486. Seeing none. Are any witnesses here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that will conclude the public hearing on House Bill number 737 and 486. We will next proceed to a public hearing for Senate Bill number 231. Senator Brown, please proceed when ready.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Ben Brown, Senator for the 26th District. I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 231. This bill is aimed at protecting small businesses involved in the sale of tobacco products. As with other small businesses, owners take on risk and invest a great deal of time, energy, and financial resources to start and build a company. This bill would create a general state preemption on the restriction of these businesses by local governments. Many companies have to market their products across the state, and this bill would provide them with a much-needed level of consistency and uniformity across the board. Most importantly, it would help small business owners that have seen their business's value diminished due to unfair ordinances that have the potential to make it nearly impossible to sell to a potential buyer. For example, in 2019, St. Louis County, they amended their tobacco licensing ordinance to place new limitations restricting retailers in certain locations from obtaining a tobacco license. And though it grandfathered in existing licenses, the ordinance specifically stated that when an impacted retailer wanted to sell their convenience store, gas station, etc., the right to a license would not transfer over, meaning that the buyer would not be able to obtain a tobacco license of their own. When approached about this issue, I couldn't help reflect upon my own experience as a small business owner. I purchased my first business, a restaurant, 28 years old, and worked year after year, in the early years putting in often over 80 hours a week just to begin growing the business and increase its value. Through a lot of dedication and hard work, I was able to grow the business by a minimum of 10% or more every year leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic and had more than doubled its value. What's happening to these retailers is no different than if a local government would have came in and said that anyone I sold my restaurant to would not be able to obtain a liquor license. What do you think would happen to my business's value at that point? That would be years of work growing this business that would essentially be erased. The value of my business, an asset that for years I worked tirelessly to grow, would just evaporate. A business is an asset just like a piece of real estate or any other. When one purchases an asset, works night and day in the hopes of one day selling it for a profit, I don't believe that it's right for the government to come in and simply undercut them, destroying something that they may have spent decades building, something they may have been relying upon for retirement or to provide for their family. Small businesses are already dealing with record levels of inflation, labor shortages, and other unprecedented challenges. Government should not be creating additional obstacles and actively working against small business owners. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Yes, proceed.
Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
I appreciate your dedication to this. Could you just refresh the committee's memory of what happened because you still represent part of St. Louis County, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so can you just refresh the committee's memory about kind of the impetus for this in St. Louis County?
What was the cause of the ordinance when originally proposed?
Yeah.
I don't know what was the cause for it.
Okay. I think maybe I'll ask that of another witness then.
Okay.
So, very good. Thank you.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Witnesses here to testify in support of Senate Bill 231. Please proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jake Silverman. I'm the registered lobbyist for the Missouri Vape and Alternative Products Association. We just want to go on record in support of this bill and thank the senator for bringing this again this session. There's over 1,500 vape stores throughout the state, and they're small business owners who are just trying to put food on the table. And when we saw this in Kansas City over, I believe it was the fall of last year, where they tried to do a flavor ban. These vape stores, about 99% of their products and tobacco products are flavored. And so doing, these type of city ordinances where we do see, a flavor ban attempt or things like that could put the small business at risk. And so this just kind of codifies in state law that the state will protect those small businesses from local ordinances that threaten the business. And so we just want to make sure that these business owners are protected, they can put food on the table, and don't have to shut their doors. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Further witnesses testify in support. Please proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good morning. My name is Ron Leone. I'm the executive director of the Missouri Petroleum and Convenience Association, so I represent many of your constituents who own and operate gas stations, convenience stores, and truck stops. We're here in support of Senate Bill 231. I want to thank the sponsor for introducing the legislation. And essentially, Mr. Chairman, we support 231 because tobacco is a lawful adult retail product that deserves uniformity, consistency, and predictability all across Missouri. The sponsor and a previous witness described two recent examples as to why we need this bill, one of which is the St. Louis County ordinance. The other one was in Kansas City, which was a flavor ban. And I just want to, I'll happy to answer any questions when we get to that point, members of the committee, but I want to go into some detail as to why we think local tobacco ordinances are not necessary and some of the problems that they cause. So local tobacco ordinances limit adult choices. Local tobacco ordinances do not decrease demand or decrease consumption. They simply push these adult consumers to buy tobacco products in border cities, border states sometimes, and on the internet. Tobacco products account for a significant portion of the inside sales of my member stores, convenience stores. Local tobacco ordinances put my members at a competitive disadvantage with just the people on the other side of the border of the city or the county enacting the ordinance, which means layoffs, downsizing, abandoned properties, and sometimes we're the only game in town, and we literally, if we go out of business, there are food deserts in that area. Local tobacco ordinances devastate brick and mortar local retailers. Not only do the retailers lose the tobacco sales, but of course they also see a massive reduction in the other sales that consumers have when they walk in the store, whether it's gasoline, food, general merchandise. All of those go somewhere else. Local tobacco ordinances which push sales to border states, like the one we potentially happen in Kansas City, will deprive Missouri of that important tax revenue which we need to fund state programs. Local tobacco ordinances, especially bans like we saw potentially in Kansas City, could encourage a black market, which has no qualms about selling tobacco products to minors. Again, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, tobacco is not a local issue. Regulating or banning tobacco products is best left up to Jefferson City or Congress so that all Missouri retailers are playing by the same uniform and consistent rules. Mr. Chairman, I am happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate the opportunity to be before you today.
Questions for this witness? Yes, Senator, proceed.
Excuse me, can you just tell what deems a qualified applicant?
Say that again.
What deems a qualified applicant? It says no political subdivision in the summary. No political subdivision shall deny a qualified applicant. So what deems qualified applicant?
Well, I think that was an example of trying to fix what happened in St. Louis County, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. So in St. Louis County, in 2019, they passed an ordinance which says you could not sell tobacco products within 1,000 feet of school property, not the front door, but within school property. They grandfathered all of the tobacco licenses that were impacted by that ordinance, but as the sponsor said, when they decided to sell their convenience store, the buyer was going to be denied a tobacco license, which meant the value of that asset was going to be substantially reduced because nobody's going to buy a convenience store if you can't sell lawful tobacco products to adults. And this was an attempt to address that so that you could not ban the buyer from the buyer of the convenience store, a qualified buyer, because some people aren't qualified, from getting a tobacco license in that situation. And I think that's what that language was meant to address.
Further questions for this witness? Yes, Senator, proceed.
Thank you, Ron. That was helpful. I just want folks to realize we've been dealing with this for several years. One of my questions, though, is has there been a discussion about if the facility, so you've got a building and there's a tobacco license with it. If that building suddenly becomes like an oil change place and they're not selling tobacco, does this bill address being able to transfer that license to somebody else? Because that was one of the concerns from over the last several years.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, I think it does address it because it's location specific for 24 months in the bill. But let me tell you what we did in St. Louis County. We had to spend a lot of money. We sued St. Louis County. For years, my members could not sell their business because the buyer was not allowed to have a tobacco license. What we ultimately worked out with the county is location specific. Right. So if my member sells their store to somebody that wants a tobacco license, assuming they're qualified, they can get it. Mm-hmm. If it becomes a daycare center, then that's a tobacco license they never have to issue again. So it was we thought, an elegant compromise with this county because it allowed them to slowly reduce the number of tobacco licenses, but not hurt anybody that currently had a tobacco license and wanted to sell their property to somebody that wanted to continue to sell tobacco products to adults.
And if I remember right, this was about facilities that sell tobacco products close to schools. It wasn't just like county-wide. They were trying to cut, I think the St. Louis County elected officials were trying to cut down the number of places that sell tobacco products close to schools. Was that?
I think that might have been the impetus of it, but I think the way I'm a little paranoid
Yeah.
because I've been doing this a long time, and
For
I've
good
earned
reason.
that paranoia, I think. But ultimately, some of these feel-good local ordinances are really about prohibition, and ultimately getting to prohibition through a death of 1,000 cuts. And so while I can understand, although I don't necessarily support something within 1,000 feet of schools, because we don't sell to children. And
Right.
again, I know there'll be people up here saying these local ordinances are meant to protect children. I often wonder if it's bad retailing or bad parenting, and I'm not sure exactly which one it is, although we often get blamed. I think that may have been the reason why it was put on the books, but again, the fact that they wouldn't allow somebody you're selling your business to get a tobacco license gives me that paranoia
Yeah.
feeling and the prohibition issue that I'm concerned about,
Very
which
good.
is why we're here today.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions for this witness? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is David Overfelt, and today I'm representing the Missouri Retailers Association, the Missouri Grocers Association, and Associated Industries of Missouri. And frankly, we just think that commerce should be uniform statewide.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. Acedinov, State Public Advocate. I'm in support of SB 231. This tackles the issue in the regulations. This is a clear statewide issue. It's good public policy. When you go city to city, especially in the urban areas such as Jackson County, Cass County, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County, crossing lines, a lot of consumers don't know when they actually cross municipal or village boundaries. And so I believe that cigarettes and tobacco products is a statewide issue. It's similar to marijuana sales, similar to alcohol sales. This will provide a level, even playing field across the state in reference to tobacco sales. Everybody will know the same rules, the same regulations. This bill takes the politics out of the equation. It doesn't pick winners and losers and who contributes to somebody's campaign, either as a county executive or a mayor or a leader of a political subdivision. And I think that happens way too many times where people are denied license based on who they support in a local election or if they don't donate and pay to play politics to receive licenses. Some might say you're taking away local control, but I disagree. I feel that this makes this bill, it's a statewide issue. Like I said, marijuana, alcohol already have regulations. You can't sell within, I believe, 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet of a school, church, place of worship. And these same regulations shall apply to these tobacco products, and it should be uniformity across our state. There shouldn't be any surprises or any additional regulations. So therefore, I highly support SB 2318. It makes common sense and it's good public policy. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Sam Licklider here for the Cigar Association of America. I given the committee a letter really from Scott Pierce, who's the president of the association. We support this bill, and the argument that, well, we got to protect the kids, and that's a good idea. But let me tell you something, the number of teenagers that walk into a store and buy a $20 stick is vanishingly small. So we're just here to say, okay, let's make this thing uniform and reasonable. Tobacco's been legal in the United States since John Rolfe exported the first load in probably 1610.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Further witnesses in support?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Heath Clarkston, registered lobbyist for Maverick Convenience Stores. Mr. Chairman, you probably remember them formerly as Come and Go. There's probably 20-plus stores in your district, but and also Senator Carter, they're in your district. But not really here to talk about anything other than the fact that we believe that if it's a legal product, it should be sold. We have no position on the youth access issue. I think that's not what we're about. I know many cities and jurisdictions we have further ordinances on that. This is just allowing the sale of a legal product that we believe should be a statewide policy.
Thank you for that testimony. Questions for this witness?
Thank you.
Seeing none.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Andy Arnold here on behalf of Hub Incorporated. We have 3 tobacco wholesalers, warehouses, one located in Fenton, one located just across the border in Galena, Illinois, or Galena, Kansas. I think I'm right on that. And then one in Kansas City area. And we are the ones that apply the tax stamps. We're the ones that provide the cigarette tax. So a standardized law that regarding preemption would be very helpful to our business.
Thank you for that testimony. Any questions for this witness?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Next witness in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kara Hoover on behalf of the National Association of Tobacco Outlets, representing the retailers, and want to go on record in support for the reason you've heard. Thank you to the sponsor.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Sam Wiles, registered lobbyist for Missouri Wholesale Distributors. Just want to go on record in support.
Thank you for that testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next witness in support. Seeing none. Any witnesses here in opposition? Please come forward and proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing the big bad city of Kansas City, and want to go on record of opposition, maybe clarify some of the statements that were made earlier about the vaping ban. We did have a council member last year that proposed that ban. It was defeated and did not go forward. So local control does work. The local marketers engaged with our city council and explained their position, and the city council thought that that legislation did not need to advance, and it did not. We were one of the first communities to support Tobacco 21. I think some of the advocates behind me will talk about that program. But at the end of the day, we oppose this because we think the local elected officials are the best ones to decide who should have those licenses and the conditions and the terms of those licenses. There was some talk about what happened in St. Louis. Don't know if we've had similar situations in Kansas City. But again, at the end of the day, we think that our residents prefer to be regulated by our local city council folks where they have the most input and say. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in opposition. Please proceed when ready.
Chair, members of the committee, Mara Patel on behalf of the American Heart Association, testifying in opposition to Senate Bill 231. Our organization has long advocated for strong guardrails on the tobacco industry, which is why we oppose this legislation. We've seen the preemption tactic in other states. It is a tactic of the tobacco industry to essentially deregulate themselves. I do want to point out in the first section, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about St. Louis in regards to the second section. But the first section does have sweeping implications for a lot of localities. So in Missouri, we have only about 6 agents who do compliance checks that are federally contracted with the FDA. And most of our compliance checks do come at the local level, and they're tied back to those local T21 laws that Shannon had mentioned. So that is one of the major reasons that we would not want to see all of those local laws be preempted by the state. And so I'm happy to answer any questions about that issue.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in opposition. Please proceed when ready.
Emily Kalmer, American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network.
As Mara mentioned, it's a tobacco industry tactic to adopt preemption at the state level. When we talk about consistency here at the state level, we're talking about a consistent low bar. So they want to preempt local communities who have worked on this issue based on responding to their constituents and move it to the state level where we have not had effective tobacco policies adopted in a number of years. Just to answer your question, Senator McCreary, the St. Louis County ordinance that people reference was instituted by a school group and folks who saw the impact of some of the vaping products in their communities and took it to a county council member. It was a bipartisan measure at the county level in St. Louis County. And as has been mentioned, there have been local efforts. They've modified that ordinance now. But our position is we've known for many years that the tobacco industry wants to stop effective policies like smoke-free, like some of these more active communities who work on enforcing age of sale restrictions. And this preemption would preempt those age of sale restrictions. So Springfield, Greene County, Columbia, Kansas City, St. Louis, a number of the Kansas City suburbs, Eldon, many other communities in the state have chosen to be responsive to their local citizens to work on this issue, and the blanket preemption here would preempt those ordinances along with many others. So for those reasons, we oppose the legislation.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses in opposition? Please proceed when ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Dr. Ed Kramer. I'm a family physician from one of the Kansas City suburbs that was mentioned, Lee Summit, and I'm a member of the Missouri Academy of Family Physicians. You're going to see a lot of white coats up here today, so I'll probably be here first. I'm a former chair, or co-chair actually, of the Lee Summit Health Education Advisory Board and a current member of the Lee Summit Wellness Commission. I want to speak primarily from my experience and perspective from Lee Summit. Through the years, Lee Summit has been active in protecting its citizens from the health effects of secondhand smoke, as well as helping prevent our young people from starting to smoke or vape in the first place. In 2016, the city of Lee Summit passed a Tobacco 21 ordinance, raising minimum age to purchase tobacco, alternative nicotine products or vapor products to 21. The ordinance also made it illegal to sell these products to anyone under 21. There were many reasons for doing this. Allow me to quote one reason directly from that ordinance. The city of Lee Summit recognizes that the use of tobacco products has devastating health consequences and that young people are particularly susceptible to the addictive properties of tobacco products and are particularly likely to become lifelong users. So prior to and since that time in 2016, many other communities in the Kansas City metro and around the state have also passed similar ordinances. This bill removes, in the language of the bill, shall supersede local ordinance regulation of tobacco purchases. This bill is a direct threat to both past and future local legislative and enforcement efforts to address tobacco use and vaping within our very own communities and the devastating health consequences of such use. The Missouri Academy of Family Physicians opposes this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for that testimony. Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again for being here. Further witnesses in opposition? Please proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jacob Scott here with the Missouri State Medical Association. Just want to go on record in opposition as well. These are lawful products, but they're uniquely dangerous, and we believe that local communities are best positioned to assess the health risk of their community, and we believe that it would be prudent to maintain local control on this important issue.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you again. Further witnesses in opposition?
Morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Laura Turner. I'm the Director of Advocacy with the American Lung Association, and I'm going to keep it short, just to say that we also go on record in opposition of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again for being here. Further witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Will Mars on behalf of the Missouri Public Health Association, as well as the Springfield-Greene County Health Department, want to go on record in opposition. I think 25, 30 years ago, you could not have predicted the proliferation of vaping. So I think having that flexibility at the local level going forward is still going to be very important.
Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Further witnesses testify in opposition?
Hello, my name is Stan Cowan. I'm a private citizen, but I have 45 years experience in public health. First 33 with the State Health Department, the remaining 12 I was recruited by the School of Medicine at University of Missouri to work on tobacco policy issues. I do have written testimony that I will enter into the record here. I do have to make a couple of comments that were said here. One of them, Mr. Leon said that we don't sell to children. The data don't prove that. When I used to track FDA compliance data for all 50 states, and Missouri was way above average for the U.S. And I'm thinking it was about like 17% retailers were caught selling to underage youth, where the national average was around 12%. Senator McCreary asked about St. Louis County, what was the reason for them having an interest to begin with on wanting to restrict sales 1,000 feet from schools. I recall a couple of St. Louis Post-Dispatch articles that said that those retailers within 1,000 feet of school had a rate that 40% of them had been caught selling to underage youth, where the county average was around 20% or so. Location does matter. With that, we still do have a problem in Missouri. When repeat offenders, they have progressive actions taken against them, progressive punishment. And I have noted here that in January of 2024, the FDA had their first round of citations issued regarding sale of the illegal youth-appealing cigarettes. Escobar's is one that came out. It's the second most commonly used brand among youth. And nationwide, rolled out, inaugural, 21 retailers were cited. 6 were located in Missouri. Now, Missouri comprises less than 2% of the U.S. population, yet we accounted for nearly 29% of this inaugural enforcement action. So what can be done? Mr. Cooper, representing the Kansas City area there, Kansas City Chamber of Commerce was an early promoter of local Tobacco 21 ordinances, and Scott Hall was the VP of the chamber, taking an interest in this, and I asked him, why would a business-oriented group have an interest in this? He said it was quite simple. They want each year's graduating classes from trade schools, from high schools, from colleges, universities, to be the healthiest possible, because a healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. And they know tobacco is the leading cause of premature death, of preventable disease. They want to address tobacco issues then. They want that healthy workforce. And they cited a study to me that a smoker cost an employer over $5,800 per year more than a non-smoker. This is due to absenteeism, smoke breaks, excess health care costs with more frequent and longer hospitalizations, and so forth. Mr. Hall said strong tobacco control policies make economic sense. So I would ask that legislators that really want to see this tobacco vaping epidemic diminish among our young people, they should support and not hinder local government efforts to protect their communities' young people from accessing these unhealthy and highly addictive products from those retailers that are unscrupulous enough to sell them. Now, of course, I'm not putting a broad brush across all retailers, but having the locals have their own enforcement will address the unscrupulous ones, and this is to the advantage of those honest ones out there that truly do not want to sell to kids. I feel like I'm getting in a pulpit, so I'll stand off here a little bit and be happy to discuss this either here or I have my contact information. You can call me later on this.
I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your testimony. Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none. Further witnesses testify in opposition.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Madison Ekrit, and I am here on behalf of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. And we are here in opposition to this bill for many of the reasons that have already been stated, but just want to emphasize the fact that our communities need tools to be able to address the growing understanding and impact that vaping is having on our teens and young people in our state. We know from our most recent study that over 20% of high schoolers are vaping at this point. So there needs to be some tool and mechanism that communities can use to address these types of issues. And I'll take any questions if you have them.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in opposition. Seeing none. Any witnesses here testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none. That will conclude what Senator from Franklin would like to have a last word here. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. I noticed that the biggest point of opposition seems to be the impact that this could have on the T21 policies. That certainly isn't the intent of this bill. I want to ensure fairness for those that have invested the time and effort into building a business, and I'd be happy to work on some language for this to make sure that it wouldn't have an impact on those T21 laws and leave those in place while still protecting businesses.
Thank you for that. And we have a statement from the committee.
Yeah,
Please proceed.
I appreciate you saying that. I would love to work with you on trying to figure out some kind of compromise. I think it's doable.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good. That will conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 231. We will next proceed to public hearing on Senate Bill number 244. Senator Crawford, please come forward and proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Sandy Crawford, District 28. I thank you for the opportunity to allow me to present Senate Bill 244 this morning. Senate Bill 244 will allow hospitals to invest up to 50% of the funds not required for the operation of the hospital or other obligations. The current limit is 25%. And the bill also kind of states what the investments can be. In addition, Senate Bill 244 allows municipal hospitals in third-class cities to operate in areas where hospital district hospitals and county hospitals operate, and this is going to allow improved access to underserved areas. I have several small hospitals in my district, and I actually have the CEO of one of them here today to testify, and he will probably answer your questions better than I as far as why this is so important, but I'm happy to try to answer questions.
Questions for the bill sponsor from the committee? Yes, proceed.
Good morning, Senator. So I noticed that on line 7 and 8, we're striking investment, United States investment grade fixed income funds. Is that so that we can, or people affected by this bill could invest in anything?
We're going to strike that, but we're also spelling out exactly what they can invest in. I think it's just more specific as to length of time and things like that. It just gets a little more specific instead of just being more of a blanket.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. First witness to testify in support. Please make sure you fill out a witness card and proceed when ready.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Craig Thompson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Golden Valley Memorial Healthcare, fortunate to be in Senator Crawford's district, and I will try to answer any questions you have. I'll give you a little bit of background, though. So we are a rural hospital, as Senator Crawford had mentioned, and one of the things that really kind of popped up last session is a bill very similar to this one was passed for county hospitals. So the bill that is presented right now really mirrors that language, but applies to both city and district hospitals. The hospital that I represent is a district hospital. And to some extent, that bill that was introduced last session created an unfair playing field because there are now prohibitions that only apply to city and district hospitals that don't apply to county hospitals, which are all governmental hospitals. The component that comes into play there is the opportunity for both city, county, city and district hospitals to also then operate in areas that are all within the borders of other city or district hospitals. For example, my hospital is located in Clinton, Missouri, which is in Henry County. There's an adjoining county, St. Clair County. There's a hospital there, Elliott Memorial Hospital. And we also have services in St. Clair County. So to be completely transparent and above board, we didn't realize these prohibitions actually existed. We've been providing services in St. Clair County for years and years and years. St. Clair County has a hospital that also provides services in St. Clair County. So the truth of the matter is, though, if we were to stop providing services in St. Clair County, that hospital doesn't have the bandwidth or the reach to be able to replicate those services. And if this prohibition were to go away, we'd have a better opportunity than partner with that hospital to meet that county's needs. Beyond that, the other aspect that is at play with this legislation is the ability to diversify our investments. So we are a hospital, like many across the state, rural hospitals that operate on very thin margins. We do rely upon our investment income to help fund operations, replace capital equipment. So even a small increase in that return would be extremely beneficial to us in helping to continue to replace capital equipment and support operations. But happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that testimony. Questions for this witness? Yes, proceed.
So really, like, to boil this down, you just want to be able to invest money so that you can invest money in more areas so that you can increase, your reserves and that kind of thing, so that you can stay viable and open and serve your community?
To boil things down, yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
All right, very good.
And the ability to provide services in adjoining areas.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Further questions?
I also have, and I'll leave written testimony from Bothwell Regional Hospital, who's a city hospital, also in support of this legislation.
Thank you for that. Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you again for being here. Further witnesses testify in support. I'm not sure if we're seeing none or if they're just waiting. Any further witnesses in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses here in opposition? Seeing none. Any witnesses here for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, any final remarks?
Just thank you for allowing me to wait for my witness to get here before I testified today and presented the bill. Thank you.
Very happy to do that. That will conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 244, and with that, we will proceed to public hearing for Senate Bill 289. Senator Berger, please proceed when ready.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, Jamie Berger, representing the 27th Senatorial District. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 289. Senate Bill 289 modernizes Missouri's estate planning laws to enhance clarity, transparency, and accessibility. This legislation addresses several key areas: the administration of trusts, statutes of limitations on actions against trustees, the recognition of electronic wills, and provisions for estate planning during emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic. The first provision is regarding trust administration transparency. This bill ensures beneficiaries are informed when a trust principal's place of administration changes, as this may impact their rights under new governing law. Regarding the statute of limitations on trustees' actions, this bill clarifies that the 5-year period to file claims against a trustee begins upon the trustee's removal, resignation, death, the termination of a beneficiary's interest, or the trust itself. Senate Bill 289 introduces the Missouri Electronic Wills and Electronic Estate Planning Documents Act, allowing for the lawful execution of wills and estate planning documents electronically. Regarding estate planning adjustments, Senate Bill 289 recognizes remote notarization and witnessing of estate planning documents during emergencies, ensuring accessibility while maintaining legal integrity. Senate Bill 289 represents a comprehensive effort to update and improve Missouri's estate planning statutes, reflecting the evolving needs of our citizens and advancements in technology. By enacting these changes, we aim to provide clarity, flexibility, and security in the estate planning process. With that, I would welcome any questions, and I have some witnesses that may be able to answer the questions better than I. Thank you.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Thank you for that presentation. First witness in support. Please proceed when ready.
Chairman Trent, members of the committee, my name is John Chalice. I'm an estate and trust attorney in the St. Louis area, and I'm also pleased to serve as the chair of the Probate and Trust Division of the Missouri Bar. I want to thank you and the members of the committee for hearing this bill, and I want to thank Senator Berger for bringing this bill. I believe that Senator Berger summarized the bill very well. I would note that most of these provisions, specifically the provisions related to the electronic wills and the estate planning during the emergency, have been brought before the Senate the last 2 years. Senator Trent, you were kind enough to carry the bills both in 2023 and 2024. These bills are not controversial. They have passed out of every committee, both in the Senate and the House, unanimously every time they've been in front of a committee. We have support from everything from Missouri Bankers Association to the AARP to industry and financial groups as well. But what Senator Berger said as far as modernizing the estate planning laws in the state of Missouri is accurate. And really the time to do this is now. Over the last 10 or so years, we've seen 14 states and 2 territories adopt the Electronic Wills Act, which started as a uniform act by the Uniform Law Commission. And in 2021, the state of Missouri, through the Probate and Trust Division, started working with the Uniform Law Commission to create a Missouri version of the Electronic Wills Act, which passed through the Missouri Bar in 2022, both at the division level, which represents 1,500 estate and trust attorneys throughout the state, as well as through the Board of Governors. With regard to the changes in the Electronic Wills Act, it does nothing to change existing Missouri law. So dual witness requirements, physical presence for those documents, all of that is still the same. All we did was add a new option in there where documents could be signed electronically. because believe it or not, you can't sign a will or any other estate planning document electronically. So you can sell your house using DocuSign, but you can't create your estate planning documents doing that. So that is really the primary purpose of the Electronic Wills Act, but it doesn't change any of the substance of Missouri law. The biggest reason that we need to put these provisions in place now is there are some states, Nevada is the most recent, that allows a citizen from anywhere in the United States to do an electronic will in Nevada. You don't have to be a citizen of Nevada. You don't have to be physically present in Nevada. I could have been sitting back there right now just doing a Nevada electronic will. And our courts in the state of Missouri are going to be left with how to deal with probating that will, how to deal with deciding whether or not it's valid, and all of the other metes and bounds regarding it. So this statute puts into place the requirements of Missouri law and will also allow us to recognize how those documents are done in other states. The final provision, the estate planning during the emergency, there is some concern at the Missouri bar level, as the senators will recall, back during the COVID pandemic, the governor issued a number of executive orders. One of those executive orders essentially stayed the requirement for physical presence in drafting estate planning documents. And there's been some open question about whether or not the governor's executive order could essentially change the statute of wills and get rid of that in-person witness requirement. So all of that statute does, that 474-600 that is in there, all it does is basically allow the estate planning attorney to go back after the fact, do an affidavit, say that this is the way that the document was done, and then this law would say if you have that affidavit, then that document is going to be a valid estate planning document. Because in our own practice, what we've done is we frankly called everybody that we did documents for back in 2020 that we did online presence with, and we're having them come back in because the last thing we want is a question about whether or not their documents are valid. So this would provide an alternative to allow those documents to be validated so that we wouldn't have questions about the validity of those documents. So appreciate the committee's time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for this witness? Proceed.
Good morning. Thanks for explaining that in easy to understand terms. One of my questions, so like our attorney that put our trust together, it seems like he was uneasy with the thought of people attempting to do things like wills and other things that could have big financial implications, like doing those through online tools and that kind of thing. So what we're trying to do with the electronic wills thing, do you think it is going to make it easier for people to do something online that maybe isn't in their best financial interest because they are able to do it without the guidance of a lawyer or people that understand the implications of what they're doing?
It's a great question, Senator. So I think for the most part, people are going to continue to use lawyers to do their estate plans. There's a whole other body of law that would prevent non-lawyers from trying to practice law in the state of Missouri.
Okay.
And clearly drafting estate planning documents would fall within that.
Okay.
So I don't think we're going to see a big invasion of non-lawyers trying to do estate planning documents.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we've got the right consumer protections in there, and I don't want Missourians to have this false sense of that they've got it covered. But so there's other sections of the law that would protect from somebody pretending to be a estate planner or a trust attorney.
That's correct, Senator.
Okay.
So you would still have to be a licensed attorney
Okay.
to be able to help someone with this. This would still be the practice of law.
Okay.
Really, we think one of the advantages comes to people throughout the state of Missouri where maybe they want to use a specific type of estate planner that maybe specializes in business succession planning for farmland or something like that. And maybe they'll be able to work with an estate planner in Columbia or St. Louis or wherever else, but they won't have to physically spend a couple of hours driving back and forth. Rather, they could just meet over Zoom, review all of the documents, and then do a remote execution that way. So we think it actually increases consumer protection and consumer availability.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none.
Thank you,
you
Senator.
for being here. Thank you
Thanks,
for that testimony. Further witnesses testify in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Andy Briscoe. I'm the registered lobbyist for the Missouri Bar, and we'd like to go on record as supporting this measure and thank Senator Berger for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you again for being here. Further witnesses and support?
Chair Trent and members of the committee, my name is Craig Parker. Excuse my address. I lost my luggage on the way from Dallas. No disrespect to you. But I am a estate planning attorney for 25 years doing wills and trusts. Currently, I'm Assistant General Product Counsel at Trust and Will, one of the nation's leading digital estate planning companies. Trust and Will serves customers in all 50 states, of course, including here in Missouri. Our platform is particularly valuable for individuals in rural areas where access to estate planning attorneys is limited. And we also serve some of our brave military personnel serving overseas. By offering accessible, affordable, user-friendly solutions, we empower Missourians to take control of their legal futures and protect their loved ones. I'm here to express Trust and Will's strong support for Senate Bill 289, which establishes the Missouri Electronic Wills and Electronic Estate Planning Documents Act. This legislation explicitly authorizes using electronic signatures for wills and other non-testamentary estate planning documents such as trusts, healthcare directives, durable powers of attorney. The bill modernizes estate planning and addresses a critical gap in Missouri's laws by embracing the modernization. Missourians will have the necessary tools to safeguard estates and families. A lack of access to essential services such as these contributes to the alarming fact that only 1/3 of Americans have an estate plan. This lack of access causes families to face unnecessary legal and financial hardships in probate court. By enabling the creation and execution of estate planning documents online, Senate Bill 289 will reduce these burdens, save families and the state valuable time and money, and fulfill Missourians' final wishes while easing the strain on our judicial system. This legislation aligns with the Uniform Law Commission's Uniform Electronic Estate Planning Documents Act framework. To date, digital estate planning laws have been enacted in 14 jurisdictions, including Indiana and Florida and Idaho, and have been introduced in nearly half of all states. The adoption of these laws across the nation underscores the urgent need to modernize and standardize digital estate planning options. Missourians increasingly rely on online tools for accessing financial and legal services. The state has demonstrated a commitment to modernization by passing the Remote Online Notarization Act in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Senate Bill 289 builds on this progress and is the next logical step to ensure that modern technology meets the evolving needs of the people of Missouri. By passing this bill, Missouri will take a significant step towards expanding affordable access to estate planning, protecting families, and ensuring that legal processes align with today's technological advances in digital society. I strongly urge the committee to support Senate Bill 289. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration and time, and I'm pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you for being here and for that testimony. Questions for this witness from the committee? Seeing none, we hope your luggage is recovered.
Thanks.
Further witnesses here testify in support? Seeing none, any witnesses here testify in opposition? Seeing none, any witnesses here testify for informational purposes only? Senator, did you have any closing remarks?
I think that's his luggage rolling in right now.
We can only hope.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 289. The committee will pause for a moment here, and we're going to try to get some other folks in here for an executive session. All right, very good. The committee will resume here. I make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We're in executive session. So the first bill, I move that the committee vote do pass House Bill number 594 and 508. If everyone will recall, this is the bill that we heard today on the capital gains tax repeal. This is identical to the bill that committee has already voted out previously, and so felt it was appropriate to go ahead and move on this today since it's something the committee has already seen and voted on. Any discussion? Yes, proceed.
So I'm just curious why it seems like we're fast-tracking House bills dealing with this, and the priority for the state Senate is not to prioritize the Senate bill.
Well, as the handler of the Senate bill, certainly love my own bill, but love the underlying policy even more, and so we just want to have as many options as possible as we try to think through this policy. I mean, it'd be my guess that the Senate bill will probably come before the body first, but ultimately that will be up to other folks to make that decision.
Okay.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I renew my motion that the committee vote do pass House Bill number 594 and 508. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Aye. Bernskoetter. Carter. Coleman. McCreary. No. Weber. No.
By your vote of 3 ayes and 2 noes, you have voted do pass House Bill number 594 and 508. Next move that the committee vote do pass Senate Bill 225. If everyone will recall, this was the Senate bill presented by Senator Coleman, which prohibits judges from imposing death penalty when the jury fails to make a decision on that punishment. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I renew my motion that this committee vote do pass Senate Bill 225. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Trent.
Aye.
Gregory. Aye. Bernskoetter. Carter. Aye. Coleman. McCreary. Aye. Weber.
By your vote of 5 aye and 0 no, you voted do pass Senate Bill 225. I next move that committee vote do pass Senate Bill 238. This is the bill that was put forward by Senator Berger on expert witness testimony. Would prevent that testimony from being admissible unless there's a more likely than not standard that the testimony meets the reliability standards that are set forward in the bill. Any discussion? Please proceed.
I was not here for the testimony. I'm probably going to just abstain from voting, and I will look at this further, and I want to be able to read it a little bit more. Nice.
This is the illusion of democracy.
This is okay, good. Well, I'll take this off speaker then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to withdraw that motion, that do pass motion. And with that, we're going to leave executive session. Do I have a second? I vote the committee leave executive session. Do I have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We are out of executive session. I now make a motion that the committee adjourn. Do I have a second? It's been eagerly seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes